business aviation story. Most of company of our industry, they rely on people.
An ambassador for the EBAA, and thanks for joining us today.
This is a very exciting moment for the European Business Aviation Association because this is the first edition of our Ambassador podcast. So you might be wondering what the European Business Aviation Association Ambassador Program is. And essentially, about 4 years ago, some of our members came to us and said, we like what you're doing, we want to support it. We want to get behind this effort of promoting business aviation, its values to a wider audience. By wider audience, we mean people who are outside of the sector, because I think that within business aviation, we of course do a great job of talking about how wonderful we are to ourselves. And now today, this program has grown to about 23 different companies who on a monthly basis are supporting the work that we're doing in advocacy and in communications. And one of the most active of these companies is Satcom Direct, and therefore it makes a lot of sense for Satcom Direct to be the guests on the first edition of this podcast. And so I'm delighted to be joined by Anna Montanuy, who is Regional Director for Europe, and Josh Wheeler, who is Senior Director for Entry into Service and Client Services, and I think Cybersecurity as well. So we're going to be talking about the general culture at Satcom Direct, some of the things that are happening in the market now, some very interesting things, but as well, a big part of the conversation is going to be about cybersecurity. There is a false idea that as you get up into the air, you can escape from the cybersecurity threats, but altitude will not keep you safe. This is more relevant today than ever. It's only going to become more relevant in the future. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Anna, Josh, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Paul.
Cool. Anna, I'm going to start with you. In Europe, it seems like there's such a big push for connectivity. So it must be a fairly straightforward job just to be processing this type of demand.
Definitely. Thanks. Well, first of all, thanks, Paul, to be here. It's great, actually, to start this podcast with the Ambassador program. So going back to your question and the connectivity, I would say not only in Europe. I think that's more like a global trend. Obviously, that's what I'm seeing here in Europe with our customers. But connectivity, it's not. I would say it's an expectation. It's there. It's kind of embedded into our life, right? We're with our phones. Actually, funny story. I think we don't do anything nowadays without connectivity. I was just flying 2 weeks ago, and my phone died. So I landed. I take off from Basel. I land in Madrid, and as I take out my phone to take out the airplane mode, and phone died. Then it's like I had a transfer flight. So like, what I'm gonna do? I have my boarding pass there. I have my contacts. I have my phones. I don't remember any telephone numbers. So with that, I had another phone, so I could change SIM cards. So the story ended up well. But I was thinking, look how tied we are into the connectivity, that it's just part of our life, right?
So if I'm a billionaire, I'm going to want to have a lot of connectivity on my plane. I'd like to stream sports. Would that be possible with?
Definitely. So in the past, technology is there now. So you want to stream sports, you want to go on board and take off your tablet, iPad, and watch your Netflix, your shows, your live TV. That's now possible. So we're in a moment where passengers want to go on board the aircraft and carry on with their lives as they were doing. Carry on posting on social media, carry on watching their shows. That's possible now.
Are we talking about speed a lot? Is there a sort of arms race in speed? And you want to say, we're this fast, this is faster than those guys.
Well,
is that how you sell it?
I mean, we were very limited. So I think, yes, it was always all about speed because it was 0.5 megabit per second, which is nothing.
Yeah.
So then when a new service would launch, this is 10 times faster, X amount of faster. But we are now, as Anna said, in a point where live sports are not a problem. When you really sit with operators, speed becomes less of an importance versus just what's the expectation that you're doing. So yeah, you can do it all. How much speed really do you need? I think the networks have all caught up to a point where you really can do everything you'd like to do fairly successfully. And there are different tiered plans, clearly. But yeah, you can do it all now. And I always say, well, what do you need that much speed for? What are you looking for? Because the average person, they don't know. And we were talking about it earlier. People just hear numbers and they say, yeah, I need all of it. Well, do you really? Because your last flight, you didn't use very much data at all, and you had a great user experience.
Yeah.
So just trying to help, and I think that's where my team comes in, trying to help people really understand how speed is not necessarily a really good measure of expectation in the user experience. Yeah. Is where I can be successful. Because it does. It jumps into a speed conversation because people don't know what they don't know.
Fine. Anna, are you able to say you can have as good connectivity in the air as you have at your home?
Yes.
Where's the next frontier? That sounds like everything. Maybe my kids would want to stream Fortnite in a plane. Is that possible now? And if not, how long will it take before we get there?
It is possible now. Of course, there are still technical limitations. Which plane are we talking about? Which system can you put on that plane?
Great point.
So, not on all planes at the moment you can stream.
How does the choice of the actual aircrafts determine the connectivity?
Right. If you have a big enough aircraft, let's say something from a mid-size to a very large jet, at this point, yes, you can say you put the latest internet system, the latest technology, and you can do the same as at home. It is still different with the smaller aircrafts. Technology is catching up. Antennas on board are becoming smaller, so they can fit all airframes. So this will arrive as well. But yes, at this point, more or less any aircraft can have a good connectivity as you would have at home.
So tell us a bit about just the background of what Satcom Direct offers. As I understand it, you're not a vertically integrated company, but you're a company that works with lots of different platforms. Is that right? What advantage does that provide?
Well, we position ourselves with agnostic in terms we have our partners. So we partner with the satellite companies that we believe in provide the user experience or the demands that the passengers need. So, and together with our partners, our mission is a little bit tying in what George was mentioning. It's at this moment, it's not so much about talking about the speed, capacity. All of our partners have the capacity there and have great roadmaps to even increase this capacity to meet the demand, right? Because the demand will just continue to increase. So it's not only about that, but making sure, and that's what Satcom Direct comes in, it's about reliability and consistency and making sure the seamless experience that our passengers want to have globally, not only in Switzerland, not only in Europe, but when they fly all over the world. So that consistency and that reliability, that's where we come in.
What is the consistency like now?
So you want to watch your live sports. You don't want to miss the goal if we're talking football, right? Or you don't want your screen suddenly be blurred and
it's always at the wrong time, right?
Correct. It would be always at the wrong time, right? So, or you're in the middle of it's a business trip, middle of a video conferencing. And then you're out of the conference. But sometimes this is critical. And if they're having an important business meeting, well, now because we're flying over the ocean or in some other region, oh, sorry, now you don't have internet. That's not an option.
Can you offer that?
Yeah.
So consistent connectivity, you're not going to miss any goals or any tries or any big events.
Well, and to that point, not every application is the same. Sometimes, they say, well, I have this on my television at home. I subscribe to this sports stream service. And then we'll say, that's great, but does not work well given satellite connections. But we've had good success with this program. So customers do really rely on us to be the experts in understanding the applications or, video conferencing. Is Zoom better than Teams? Well, let's find out. And we can make recommendations. And customers do. They trust our opinion on this to give them the best experience, so we'll be consistent. So you may be using a different application, but you're getting the same content. It's just delivered in a manner that's better because we've vetted that application and tested it thoroughly and make recommendations.
In Europe now, I know on the charter market, charter flyers are expecting good connectivity in flight. Are all of the commercial operators signed up with a connectivity provider? Is this now constant across the European market, or is there still room with some operators that don't have aircraft?
Definitely. We go back to the aircraft that we were talking before. So for those aircrafts, there's still newer aircrafts. Yes, they all come with a connectivity. Most of them with a connectivity option that you can then activate. There's still a lot of aircrafts out there, older aircrafts that they don't, or maybe they have a slower system, or maybe they only have a telephone. There's still plenty of those, especially if we go back, as we were mentioning, towards the smaller aircrafts. Traditionally, they don't have the size to feed the big antennas. But now, again, as technology evolves, now the antennas are becoming smaller. And now the passenger that flies in, talking about Europe, into the inter-European flights, in the past, it's 2 hours flight maximum, right, around that you can go. It's such a short flight that connectivity was maybe not needed. If you need to make an urgent phone call, that's fine. The new entrance into the market, into business aviation, and the new trends, that has changed dramatically. We are talking about young generations that come on board, and they will not, even if it's an hour flight, they expect to have that connectivity because they want to send a WhatsApp text, they want to make a video call, they want to make their post on Instagram or on TikTok or continue to be connected. They don't want to be 1 hour without that. And that's what's changing.
But can every European charter operator provide that?
They can, depending on the aircraft model.
But still, I mean, there are what?
Potentially, yes.
And most of them, and we of course, we talk to the operators, and that's again a trend in Europe or in the US, where Josh is based. Operators, they do tell us. So depending on which trips, the aircrafts with connectivities sell better on the charter market than the aircrafts without.
So it sounds like it's a company that can provide a very tailored solution based on the specific needs.
Very customizable.
Very customizable, that's fine. But then there is, I suppose, the other approach where you have companies that own satellites and create the devices as well. Everything is vertically integrated. Do they pose a threat? I mean, I'm talking here, of course, about Starlink. I mean, does that change things for Satcom Direct? I mean, how should Satcom respond to this?
I think it's great, honestly. It changes things in a very positive way. Any kind of disruptive technology, look at the iPhone, for instance, when it first. What did every other phone developer do? They thought of ways to improve, or they were left behind. So for us, we see it as an opportunity to become more innovative, to bring some ideas that maybe we've been working on to market faster. Just ways to help our customer, because Starlink, it's huge, but the challenge is they've been on motorhomes, they've been on boats. They don't understand something that we've been in business for over 25 years. So aviation works very differently. If you have an aircraft that's grounded somewhere, well, we can get an operator there, a field service representative there in 12 hours.
But won't they simply be faster, allow people to do more stuff? And if you don't have satellites, you're not going to be able to compete with
it. It will be faster, but once again, it just comes back to that. Do they understand the industry? Can they set expectations? Can they deliver consistently? You could argue that a LEO orbit is not very consistent. It's rapidly connecting to multiple assets at one time in that constellation. So there's a lot of unknowns and questions, but I think it's going to drive everyone to be better. That's my opinion.
I think you mentioned Starlink for one, but there's a lot of new entrants into the satellite space. And definitely, by the end of the day, is choice, right, to the end clients. So competition, more choice. This is going to drive innovation, and this is going to drive other network operators, satellite operators to improve also and bring enhancements.
Once again, why we don't sell just Inmarsat Viasat. We work with as many, as Anna said, we evaluate, which would be a good partner to work with, and we partner with folks. We give choice. We want you to have the freedom to have the consistent experience, So outside of Starlink, there's other LEO orbits. OneWeb, they're coming to market. Kuiper, which is Amazon-based, they're coming to market. So who's to say that if we had this conversation from a year from now, maybe we're reselling all of those as well to provide that customer support. We're open to talk to anybody, and I know our leadership has said we are open to conversations with any provider, but we have to evaluate if it's going to be good for business aviation and good for our customers.
Cool. I guess as well, with all of these different options, with an increase in the levels of connectivity that is offered, this creates more threats, and this is coming to the main point of the conversation today, one of the main points. And I had the impression that big connectivity providers, they're supporting the demand, almost trying to keep up with the demand. And then as a result of that, did questions about cybersecurity take a second priority. And have you been playing catch up on that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you take it from the sales perspective.
Definitely. I mean, now we didn't start today to talk about cybersecurity. We started talking cybersecurity since many years now, when the having internet on board became a reality. Yeah, I think still today now cybersecurity people's catching up, right, with the current geopolitical situation and threats and attacks and people being hacked. This is becoming more a topic, but that was not the case in the past.
Was that because the threats weren't there, or people didn't know the threats?
When we launched our offering, it was 2017? It was many years ago. Right?
Yeah.
We said, let's just cast a big net. Let's just see. Go fishing. Alarming how many threats we saw just in our testing.
Yes.
Alarming, where people were just completely unaware, had no idea. And once again, to your point, and to Anna's, they didn't care because they didn't know they had made assumptions. I'm flying. I had a director of aviation tell me, I had given a cyber presentation, and he said, I'm not concerned at all about cyber. And I go, well, why not? And he goes, well, you'd have to have a rocket jetpack to fly to try to get onto my airplane. And I looked at him and I said, are you only concerned with free open Wi-Fi? That's your only concern? He goes, yeah, what can they really do? And this was a telecommunications company. Yep. So once again, cyber is the bottom of their thought.
Yeah.
And just understanding that, wow, even in a lot of our threats are honestly, even Swift broadband, I see a lot of legacy services that are much slower. So you go from a data pipe this big to now massive. And then yes, with the LEO orbits, much larger.
Yeah.
The potential for compromise is huge. And it's only going to get more, the attacks are going to be more complicated. And now that you have real-time transmission to watch streaming, live television, video conferencing, the throughput is available and it's there. And these attacks are going to start targeting aircraft. It's going to happen.
Did you feel like a lone voice in the wilderness in those early days?
I would say it was more of a novelty.
People just didn't care.
They did. Well, we even did a great...
You were seen like as a bad guy.
Yeah.
Coming with bad news.
Yeah. Leave us alone.
No, I don't want to talk to this guy.
We have enough problems.
Conversation
right?
with customers. It was a little bit, I bring Josh in as our cybersecurity expert, and it was like...
They're like, I don't want to talk to him. Yeah.
We were a little bit the number.
No, and then other competitors even said, shoot, now we're getting questions. What do we do? So I think we were early to the game.
Yeah.
And it was great positioning for SATCOM, but once again, we care about the user experience, we care about the customer, and it only really took one customer to come to us and say, it was an international operator. He flied charter, and he goes, what do I tell my passengers that charter my aircraft about their data? Is it secure? And we said, well, we need to give you an answer. We quickly developed a solution and found answers to that, but it was, we were definitely a lone voice for several years.
Yeah.
And then now it's, once again, because as these high-speed systems became more and more readily available, everyone said, well, shoot, I am getting compromised, and what do I do?
So now you're drinking from a fire hose.
It absolutely is. I mean, I have some good content for it tomorrow, but on a daily basis, just subscribers through Satcom Direct, I see close to 10,000 different triggered events globally on aircraft. Now, some of them are...
What does a trigger event mean?
So it could, an event, I don't like to say a hack or a threat, because we don't know what it is until it's evaluated. But an event is anything that raises warning. That says, oh, something's happening here. It could be a bad cookie on their browser. It could be something like adware where they're tracking your, and Google does this too. Everyone tracks where you're going, what you're doing. So some of these flag. So some are very low level, but on the other end, you see a full compromise. You see malware, you see Trojan horses, you see viruses, and then you see what's called an APT, an advanced persistent threat. We've seen these, where that's a state-sponsored event where a team of bad guys are trying to penetrate an asset. Do they know it's a jet? No. They just see a laptop. They see something on network where they're trying to compromise. So we've seen the full spectrum of, like I said, annoying cookies to legitimate, terrifying threats.
How do you see everything?
We see it through, as a provider of SATCOM, we provide a service where it's effectively a very robust firewall and a very robust antivirus engine.
Yeah.
And it evaluates traffic.
So do you have a sort of control center where
we
you have to monitor?
We have a network operations center, and we see global threats, and we see protocol. We don't look at websites. We really don't care. We're not watching traffic, but everything works in a series of ports and protocol. And yes, some of these are known as malicious, and we see that. So we see everything coming through the data pipe.
So now, when you're talking to people, they're listening. But if we take, let's say, a small operator in Europe, what are some of the first steps that they need to take? The answer can't be they need to sign up with your cybersecurity product, but how should they go about addressing this? I would assume that there's still a good few out there who haven't thought this through properly yet.
I think the sales has become very good at, they used to have to pull me into just about every conversation, but as we've had this for several years, they'll have conversations and they'll ask about what kind of traffic, what kind of passengers. Once again, when you're trying to set expectations, well, now you're trying to evaluate from a sales perspective, do they have a higher profile for threats? Well, maybe they do, depending on the company they work with, the owner. And maybe they're a target and they don't know they are. But they're able now, and they have a lot of great conversations in the early stages of signing for new subscriptions, where Anna can go in and her team can, and they can say, yes, this person is probably ripe for targeting. And then they're able to help them try to evaluate that. So it always starts with a conversation. We ask some series of questions. What do you do when this happens? What do you do when you fly to a high-risk country? What do you do with your laptops? And the sales has gotten very good, once again, with trying to understand their mission, and then can help them with cyber after.
Let's see if we could start with what I would see as the sort of basic level of threat, or the more commonly occurring one, which I think would be people trying to access people's laptops and kind of compromise the data, get a hold of the data, maybe for some financially related purpose. Is that fair?
Oh, sure.
So that's the most common type of threat.
Most common threat is, yes, they're trying to acquire data. They don't know what it is per se. They're hoping the data is good. There's some valuable information, maybe passwords, usernames, intellectual property, trade secret. They're just trying to capture data for resale. It's all for financial gain. And so, yes, the easiest way would be to try to compromise something that's on network that you can easily access, like a tablet or a laptop.
When you say they, who are we
they is
about?
They call them, another silly term is bad actor or a black hat hacker. It's anyone with any kind of a bad motivation that's really looking to just pull information. But now there's very sophisticated companies that they'll employ a team of network specialists, maybe 10 to 20, and it'll look like a legitimate business, but their job is just to try to penetrate networks. So, some countries, you can probably guess which ones they actually have these. They're almost like a legitimate company where you could reach out to them, and maybe you have an idea of an attack. You are associated with a kind of a hacker group. They form these clans or groups, and you don't want to create software. You can actually outsource now. You can outsource and have a company build malware for you. You can tell them what you want it to do. You want it to encrypt, lock down. You want something that's ransomware, and then they'll cut you a price, and they'll give you great customer service to deliver it. It's terrifying.
But it would be harder to create companies like this in Western Europe or US.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have the best, the laws protecting that and litigation against these organizations. But yes, clearly you could probably think very easily where these companies exist and where they're located.
Okay, fine. So that's a basic level of threat. Now, one thing I heard you say before was that people can be compromised without knowing it.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, hackers could be snooping around for a long time in your devices without you knowing it.
Yeah, they say it's at least 6 months. Where I think it's
they observe you.
Oh yeah, that or they created malware and you got sent an email, you didn't realize it, you clicked on it, and I say they live rent free for over 6 months. Some people just assume a hacker goes right for a target. Most of the time, they don't have a target. They don't know what they're looking for. They're hoping, just like fishing, you're going to reel in something good.
It's completely opportunistic.
Absolutely. It's an opportunistic field where, and if you look at the enthusiasts, it's people sniffing around that are trying to see if there's something worthwhile for capturing. And yes, in many data breaches, it's about 6 months before they really know, oh shoot, we've been compromised. Someone has been offloading data to a server somewhere, and then that is terrifying that it takes that long to evaluate.
So we spoke about the basic level of threats, but how bad can it actually get? Can they take over the flight deck?
So thankfully, and when I say thankfully, we're talking today, no, these systems are separated. It's a very common question. They say, can you compromise? I mean, she gets it a lot where, no, just by wiring, they call it like an air gap. If it was anywhere else, it would say it's an air gap system to where the flight control systems, the navigation components, those are all completely isolated. We're talking mostly cabin entertainment, internet-based systems. Now, we do have positioning data. Everyone pulls it. They pull data to look at lat long. It feeds to your antenna, so where you know where you are to get the best experience with the best satellite, the best coverage. So yes, there is some data, but in its current state now, what worries me as these systems become more intelligent, as we're looking at engine data, other health trend data, fuel data. I mean, you think about all the things that the equipment manufacturers wish they could capture and offload that to give you, once again, more efficiency, make the aircraft more fuel efficient, to make it more, just better routes based on your current situation. It's all health data. These systems are going to be integrated. And I know that the EASA, the FAA, other organizations have started looking at legislation to provide protection, but a lot of it is unknown because these next-gen systems really don't exist today.
Yeah.
But yes, I absolutely, they have to get in front of it and go to a worst-case scenario to think, okay, what happens if someday there's an aircraft that is so smart, it's a smart plane that can talk and do offload data, can auto-update everything. Well, can you now ground that aircraft?
Let's think about these more advanced threats. You brought some stuff.
Yeah.
Where did you get this stuff?
So it's funny. Most of these are actually hard.
Did I sound suspicious there?
Yeah, you did. So I'll say right now, if I was sitting in a SATCOM office, I could not order this. The websites would be blocked. But yeah, they're all over online. There's different organizations that sell. They call it penetration testing tools. Experimental only to help people. But yes, all of these things can be used for bad purposes as well. So the most common is, we call it a Wi-Fi pineapple. It is hard. It's just an access point. It just advertises Wi-Fi. But what it can do, by way of just hooking up to a laptop or a, tablet, you can actually install different modules that allow it to do different things. So one thing I like to do with these, it's called a deauthorization. I could make sure everyone in here loses complete comms. I can advertise and make your phone think that there's no cellular network. I can make your phone think that there's no Wi-Fi, and then just kill comms. That's a huge thing that you can do. And if, to her point earlier, what do people always need? Connectivity. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden your phone says no network and it can't do anything. That's terrifying. That's a disruptive nature. That's an attack.
So this will be dropped into an aircraft.
Yeah.
Controlled remotely.
Oh, completely. This one's got a little data chip in here. It's tiny. You can put this on I can hide this in an FBO in an office. I can sit outside.
Is there a device that would prevent a pilot communicating with ATC?
Not so much jamming ATC traffic, but you can inundate them and flood them with false messaging to where it would almost be hard to distinguish what's legitimate and what's false. So yes, those
be disruptive. I know. This is just a hardware issue.
Yeah.
So this is linked to people. People, if the processes were not right, they could allow for people to get
100%. So and taking these tools once again, this one, it's not even anything computer or network related. This has an HDMI port, and it can offload video data. So now if you're thinking blackmailing someone, what are they having on their data feed? What are they having on screens? Maybe things they don't want other people to see, other operators to see, other passengers to see. And then you have a memory card in here where I can now make copies of anything. So also access, a lot of this, yes, you have to be on-prem to do. But I have something here that can almost infinitely extend the range of my laptop. So I could park in a parking lot.
Yeah.
If the FBO, now stateside, we see issues. The FBOs are, I would say, much more relaxed. They don't want to inconvenience people. They don't want to make assumptions that you're not an owner. So they just let a lot of people in. It's a rarity that I've not been granted ramp access at an FBO.
They are afraid to ask somebody, are you really?
Yeah.
In case you get offended there.
Absolutely. So, okay, say I'm at Farnborough and they don't let me in. Okay, I'll sit in the parking lot across the street. I'll put this in my laptop. And
in Europe we don't care as much.
And I will broadcast that. So a lot of it is physical deterrent. But once again, from a mindset of someone who's talking cyber and understands the challenges, I can use these tools to go to what I'll say is the worst case scenario, to try to compromise an aircraft, to give a false network. We call them evil twins. I don't know who makes these terms up. They're great.
You're sure you weren't the hacker in a
right?
Okay, we're not allowed to.
I'm not going to comment on that. But what you can do, I can make a false network that advertises the same thing you would see either at an FBO or on your airplane. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can see your tail number and assume because of this, okay, well, your tail number is the name of your Wi-Fi. Okay, that's crazy clever. Good job on that one. No one thought of that before you. But now I can advertise that network here. And because this has such a strong broadcast, your phone, your devices are just going to connect to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm just pulling content.
Yeah.
And then I can, in some instances, I can browse your laptops. I can go look around for folders and files. And then if I'm intuitive enough, I can make copies and or send that out somewhere.
I mean, I can kind of live with this to a certain extent. You're not crashing the aircraft into the ground yet.
Correct.
You mentioned passwords. My favorite song is There Is a Life That Never Goes Out by the Smiths. Great song. You know it?
I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song. And so I just took the first letter from each word in that song and I put it together.
You know what?
I'm going to change it after this.
Well, I'll
of course.
tell you, when you said the name of the song just now, that would be an awesome password.
Yep.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Incredible.
No, it's long though. It's
Well, longevity is password strength now.
People don't know about the passport length thing.
Yeah. Oh, they don't.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I mean, a series of unrelated words, like a song lyric, it would take trillions of years to crack that by modern computing. Yeah.
Good.
Oh, no. Like your favorite song, the first, I wouldn't say the entire, chorus.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first 3-4 words of that song, that would be a very secured password. It's
Okay, fine.
unbelievable.
So I haven't made it more secure by condensing it down.
No, well, so the problem is,
I'm doing okay.
no, you're doing good. That's a step of what I see. Like I said, a lot of aircraft, they just have their tail number or their serial number twice. I don't know what it is about that.
But also, there's this false, talking to Jaws and with trying to educate the customers and the industry. There's this little bit false thinking that we're trying to make this complicated.
No, we don't want it. No.
Exclamation mark, @ symbol, and all that. No need to. Just create a long password.
In one of my cybersecurity classes, I remember our professor told us, all you're going to do by introducing complexity with like special characters, up or lower, you're going to cause frustration and anxiety to a point where someone is just going to throw their hands up and say, I'm not doing it anymore. So
Yes, that's true.
overcomplicating it, and yes, having a conversation saying it does not have to be complicated.
But often the devices are asking us for
it's
capitalized, so they shouldn't actually be doing
They
that.
should not be doing it, and it's been proven repeatedly that nuance of upper, lower, special characters, unless
never
you
knew
have
that.
16 characters or more, then yes. But and what are the odds you're going to forget that? Everyone
Huge.
forgets it. So yeah, a handful of words unrelated, like a song lyric, like a nursery rhyme, much more secured. Now, in those instances, so perfect example, what I do, because yes, there are some banking institutions, different finance sites, yeah, they'll ask you upper, lower, have the same 5 characters that meet that, and then what you do is you truncate it with words. So I have my
much better.
I have my core value. It's an upper, lower, special character. I think it's 6 that I have.
Yeah,
that
fair
I use
enough.
for everything.
Yeah.
But what I change is then I put a series of words related to that account. So I'll have my special little key, and then I'll say car note or bank payment password or whatever it may be, and you add a series of words after it. That way, your core complicated, and then you change the last few. Like a song lyric or something.
Fine. You're touching on something else here, which I guess is not the same password for every.
No. And so
Do you have the same password on every?
most people do.
Not for everything, but it's for some, yes. I should not be doing that.
Yeah. So a security audit of there's a publication comes out yearly when they evaluate just trends in data and whatnot. They say about 43% of people recycle passwords cross-platform. And so, that's your banking password, your Amazon password, your PayPal. That's all the same. Most people do it. 43% of the people, about half. Now, once again, becoming a hacker using one of these things, I'm hoping I'm capturing a username, a password, because then what am I going to do? I'm going to go try. I don't know if you bank with a certain bank. I'm going to go try that bank site's. I'm going to go try this credit card site's login. And maybe I'll get lucky because, once again, it's opportunistic. They're hoping to capture that and that you fall into that bracket of people that recycle passwords.
Very good. Okay. Now, I don't want to end on this point.
Sure.
I think there's an opportunity
Yeah.
to help companies, help our members with these cybersecurity issues. And I know you're on the road and you're doing a fantastic job doing that. I want to talk about the ambassador program, the fact that SATCOM became a part of this, what it means for the company. Has it helped you, or is there something that you'd like to do more with this program? Tell me a bit about that.
There's a need out there. As you said, we're very good. I think we go to conferences and events, talking to each other, and we know how great the industry is, how good we are all, how amazing the operators, all the suppliers. So we're very good at that. But I don't think we're so good outside of the industry and that by the end of the day affects everybody, right? We need new people into the industry. We want more people to utilize business aviation to see the value so we all can continue carry on with our jobs. And there's a need, and that's great for the EBAA, obviously, to recognize that and to empower us in some way, because we needed that platform. That we need to do something, right? So I think the EBAA and the ambassador program provided that platform for us to take the message out there and help educate and the people outside of our industry, not only the people that's against our industry, but all the rest of the people that don't even know that business aviation exists, that don't even know the work that we're doing, and to send a message out there.
When you talk to your friends outside of the industry, do you sometimes feel a bit embarrassed or?
No, not embarrassed at all. But what I feel, I actually myself, my background, I come from aviation, and I have most of my friends work in aviation companies as well. But even after I finished my studies of aviation, I haven't heard anything about business aviation. So we're not even talking people outside of aviation. That's different. Well, with today and with all the the environmental protests, I think maybe people starting to know business aviation, but the bad side. But before, not even aviation background people would know or had an idea of how big. Maybe you know, of course, that private jets exist and that there are celebrities that use private jets, but you don't understand the vast work that there are behind.
Did you know?
No, I didn't know until I started working in business aviation. Definitely. So there is a education problem out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I worked with the FAA prior to coming to Satcom Direct for almost 10 years, and that was never discussed. We never talked about private jets. Yeah. It was almost like the impression was it was just hobbyists, enthusiasts in it, or just rich guys, going to islands and stuff.
That's in the U.S. for it.
Yeah, no, but and it was never a part of our conversation. And we did networking and security for the FAA, and that was never brought up, private aviation.
Coming from the US, when you're in Europe, are you surprised about some of the public discussions about business aviation, how it's perceived, how it's sometimes criticized?
A little surprised. I was at Corporate Jet and seeing protesters live talking about how end all private aviation and then the numbers about carbon footprint and the green initiatives. That's something I don't see where I'm at, and especially in Florida. But that was very surprising to me. The emphasis once again from a negative point of view. Yeah. I wasn't expecting that.
But you've got the book. You've both found out what business aviation is all about. Do you think there's no going back? Could you see yourself working in a different sector?
I mean, never say never, right? I don't like to say never. I would not do that, but I don't think so at this point. Yeah. I mean, I love aviation, and now I'm in business aviation. I don't think it's such a unique industry.
Yeah, exactly. When I got in and started, I've been in Satcom 10 years now, and she's about to cross 10 as well. It's just very interesting. It's very small. It's very close knit. People, they even move, different operators will move to different flight departments, and you build relationships and you get to know people, and you get a lot of friends in industry. So as far as going out of it, probably not. I'm very passionate about educating, and even the cyber stuff. Yeah, I like to scare people, but at the end of the day, I want to help people be better. So I think for me, there's always going to be that need. And just, I'm very, like I said, passionate about the entire thing. So I don't know about any other industry I'd hop into.
It's the coolest part of aviation.
It is the coolest industry in aviation.
Yeah, of course. But it's great.
It is great.
I mean, it's great. What I wanted to say was it's great because I know that you're both going to be doing more to continue kind of accelerating this, but also talking to people outside of the industry and being an example for them.
Sure.
And I think you're both fantastic examples of the type of careers you can build within this sector.
That's cool.
This has just started.
Yeah, it's just started. Okay. Anna, Josh, it's been fantastic speaking to you both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What a great way to start this podcast.
Very good. Yeah, very
cool. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. You set a high bar.
Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, guys.